All right, take a look at this. Another video has surfaced showing the latest assault on a Baltimore City Schools employee. This happened at Baltimore Polytechnic Institute in Northwest Baltimore. Now, in this case, other students intervened, and you can see that the teacher goes to the other side of the classroom. This month alone, at least 3 employees at city schools have been assaulted. The teachers union and the school are teaming up to form a safety task force.
Hello everyone, today I want to talk about substitute teachers. These individuals step into the classroom often on short notice, bringing energy and dedication for learning that truly makes a difference. They are unsung heroes who keep the gears of education turning, ensuring that students continue to grow, explore, and thrive. Even myself, I've experienced wonderful substitute teachers that have changed my life. I'm going to look into reasons why substitutes are not going to certain schools and what's fueling the substitute shortage and the vital role they play in education. I know it's 2025, but this is the most comprehensive story that I've been able to come up with that talks about like key points about why the substitute shortage is happening and why it's affecting certain communities more than others. The national substitute teacher shortage could have a long-term consequences for students, especially kids in low-income communities. Last school year, almost 3 out of 4 public schools reported higher rates of chronic teacher absenteeism or teachers missing 10 or more days of work, according to the U.S. Department of Education. At the same time, 77% of schools reported having more difficulty finding substitutes to fill in while regular teachers were out, with 61% saying it was much more difficult than it had been before COVID-19 began to spread. My school, specifically, has yet to hire a substitute this year for when I have called out sick. And I have yet to get a substitute for when my teacher has called out sick or has been absent. Actually, we had a teacher who got sick for over a week recently, and they just split up her class instead of getting a substitute. So now I have to find ways to teach and engage these other students from different grade bands. For example, I teach 5th grade. If they don't have a place to put certain students, they're going to put like 4th graders in the 5th grade class, 3rd graders in the 5th grade class. That's what they would do to manage these amount of students. Administrators describe scraping the bottom of the barrel with less than ideal substitute teachers. Researchers from Concordia and Indiana universities who are studying staffing challenges write an April 2022 essay for The Conversation. In a pinch, schools place multiple classes together with a single adult. That's literally what I just said. In 2022, staffing shortages were so severe, some public schools closed temporarily, and the governor of New Mexico called on the National Guard troops to help cover classrooms. Many school districts are asking parents and community leaders to fill in. Another strategy, promoting substitute teaching as a way college students can use their spring break to make an extra cash. The problem I have with that is none of these people have training in how to teach reading, writing, or math, or phonics, or phonemic learning, or how to teach students with special needs. For example, students with ADHD, which can range from high energy to hyper focus, not including managing a classroom full of many different personalities. Think of it this way. Walk on a stage and try to teach a whole group of adults something that you love, and these adults are just random people on the street that have never heard of you. How well do you think that's gonna go? Now imagine that, but children and multiplication, or better yet, volume or fractions. Lower the qualifications expectation doesn't help, but in my opinion harms, let alone you don't know what weirdos are coming into your school to take advantage of lowering expectations. What I do agree with is promoting substitute teaching as a way for college students to use their spring break to make extra cash. Not specifically college students, but there's students in teaching programs that I think this is vital for them to do, is to sub. If they can substitute, they can learn from other veteran teachers in the classroom. They can learn skills that are going to be necessary for their own teaching in the future. And I just think it's an important thing to do, especially if you want to learn the skill set of teaching. Because the first thing, I'm be honest, the first thing you need to learn is not how to teach a class, but how to manage a classroom. The moment you can manage a classroom and they can, not, I don't want to say respect you, but they can look at you as the teacher and want to learn from you, even if it's something they've never heard before, that's when you can really get a hold of your class and get the learning to happen. The substitute shortage has forced a national spotlight on the critical role these employees play in the day-to-day functioning of American public schools. It has prompted lively debates of how substitutes should be recruited and compensated, and whether public schools should hire those without a certain number of hours of training or college credit. I think hiring people in college with teaching or policing would be beneficial, especially policing, because now you're getting to know the parents in your community. You're getting to know the children in your community who are going to grow up to be the adult, especially if you want to be a police officer and you want to stay, let's say, in that district or that area for a long amount of time. That's how you really get your foot in the door and learn who these children are. I think people who provide services for children, let's say psychologists or speech pathologists, or people who are want to work in special education, if they're in those college programs or in those graduate programs, those are the people that should be first be given substitute privileges, because those are the people that want to work with children. They want to put themselves in a classroom to help them whatever way. Why aren't we giving these college kids the opportunity to get in the classroom? Why are we leaving them in the college all day to learn from professors when the best experience is in the classroom? Changing substitute teacher requirements. While the qualifications to become a sub differ across states, public schools often do not require subs to have a college degree or training, including classroom management. Many states, including Alabama, Arkansas, Colorado, and Florida, allow adults with only a high school diploma to substitute teach, according to the National Council of Teacher Quality Teacher Contract Database. How do you feel about somebody just out of high school substituting? I personally don't think that's a good idea. There's at least training these people need to acquire, because this teaching position puts a lot of you not only emotionally, but physically. I don't think a high school student might have the best emotional intelligence to work with high need students. In December 2021, U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cordona sent a letter to school district officials suggesting they use some of their federal COVID-19 relief funding to recruit and train substitutes. The federal government provided $122 billion in emergency relief fund to elementary, middle, and high schools to keep schools safely open and tackle learning loss and mental health. Since then, many school districts have raised substitute pay or considered it. To expand their pool of applicants, districts in several states have lowered their educational requirements. Economist Patricia Sands Armstrong notes in a January 2022 report for the National Council on Teacher Quality. She points to Douglas County, Colorado, and Montgomery County, Maryland as examples. While both districts previously required a bachelor's degree, Douglas County now only requires a high school degree, and Montgomery County an associate's degree, Sands Armstrong writes. In California, last September, Governor Gavin Newsom signed a law that waives until July 1st, 2024, a statewide requirement that adults pass a basic skills proficiency test before they can obtain an emergency 30-day substitute teaching permit. I do not believe that money went to education at all. In my own school, we only got a ton of PPE masks and hand sanitizer. None of it went to tutoring or paraprofessionals or other services for children, or even more training for teachers to help bridge the gap between what was lost during COVID and students not being in school. Also, teaching comes with so much patience. I think training is necessary, and you're not properly vetting by giving less requirements. I think you're putting more students in danger this way. And honestly, I don't think it's that hard to probably pass a basic skills proficiency test to obtain an emergency 30-day substitute teaching permit. Well, I'm a special education teacher, so I have to learn phonemics. I have to learn speech and pathology. I have to learn how to help students even hold a pencil. Right, I have to work with the speech pathologist. I have to work with the therapist. I have to work with the school psychologist. I have to, learn how to speak to parents, along with managing a classroom and lesson planning and, creating special education plans and all this and that. There comes so many different things that I don't think a basic skills proficiency test attained in an emergency situation is really going to help these students achieve what they need to achieve. Why the shortage is worse at some schools. As school districts nationwide struggle to find subs, some communities seem to have been hit harder than others. When journalist Joe Hong looked at teacher absenteeism in 7 urban school districts in California in January 2022, he discovered the shortage was particularly acute at schools serving high-need students. Brother, urban schools is like inner city or the city schools, and high-need students, that's basically where I work. I work in high-need student areas. It's not easy. It affects you emotionally more than anything. California schools with large numbers of high-need students, low-income English learners, and foster youth have always struggled to find substitute teachers, but this year's COVID-19 Omicron surge brought them to a breaking point, he reported in Cal Matters in May 2022. The data shows that on average, a school with the most high-need students fills about 42% of their teacher absences with substitutes. The schools with the fewest high-need students found subs for 63% of teacher absences. I'm gonna get into that. Let me finish reading before I give my opinion. In Los Angeles, Hong adds schools with the most low-income students were able to find subs for less than 1/4 of their absent teachers. Academic researchers have found similar patterns at public schools in California, Michigan, and other parts of the U.S. Although their most recent analysis are based on data collected before COVID-19, they provide helpful insights and context. Jing Liu, an assistant professor in education policy at the University of Maryland, explained that the pandemic has likely exacerbated an already unequal distribution of substitute teachers. His study of teacher absenteeism in California, published last summer in Education, Finance, and Policy, offers clues as to why subs gravitate towards some schools and avoid others. I can bet. Liu warned that increasing pay will not on its own improve overall supply of substitute teachers. He urged journalists to investigate the issue more closely. I'm going to be honest, coming from somebody who works in high-need schools in urban areas, it affects you emotionally, the kids, it affects you emotionally, the parents, and it affects you emotionally the amount of work you have to do with administration, especially if you get a lot of students who are on many different levels. For example, I teach 5th grade, but I have students ranging from 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and 4th grade. That's the range of skills that they have when it comes to adding and subtracting, multiplying, dividing, even like reading and writing and, developing sentences. This is the problem all across America. Just look at all the videos of teachers and aides getting attacked in schools. Why would anybody who is not passionate about not wanting to help others willingly put themselves in harm's way? This is not even talking about the school shootings and the weapons students bring to schools, not just in urban areas. Myself, we had to take away knives from kids' bags before. That's happened multiple times. And every time you take a kid's knife from their bag, they have the same thing. It's not safe walking from school back home. It's not safe because some kids get out at like 6, 7 o'clock at night. And in the winter time, it is pitch black in some areas. And I get that. I can't say I don't understand where you're coming from. You need to protect yourself, right? I worked in middle schools and high schools and stuff. That's where I'm coming from with that area. But elementary kids still walk home by themselves. 5th graders, 4th graders walk home by themselves, and they're not living in the best neighborhoods. Similar to regular teaching jobs, substitute teachers care about their earnings as well as their working conditions, Liu wrote via email. Some consistent factors that affect substitute teachers' willingness to teach I consistently find in my study are the challenge of managing student behavior and lack of support from school administrators and staff members. Hit the nail on the coffin. At many public schools, administrators saw a marked increase in student misbehavior during 2021 and 2022 academic year compared with before the pandemic. A May 2022 report from the National Center of Education Statistics shows. For example, 56% of public schools reported more classroom disruptions from students' misconduct, and 48% reported more acts of disrespect towards teachers and staff. I think trying to improve substitute teachers' experience and provide them more tools and support to do their job is something really important, but not discussed a lot, Liu wrote. This is not just for substitutes, this is for teachers as well. There have been plenty of times I see fights between students and school safety never shows up. And the kids are just fucking going at it, bro. A lot of the time, if you have a disruptive student, administration just expects you to deal with it and find a solution on your own. The problem is it takes away so much time from the other students and their education. Trying to calm down just one child doesn't go on for months at a time with no teaching getting done, and students don't learn the concepts and skills they need for the upcoming grades. I'm gonna give you a personal experience, and this is probably one of my scariest experiences I've had. I get this kid, he comes in. I do my teacher moves, right? I'm trying to, get to know the child. He's very nice and calm on the first day. I think things are okay. The second day, he's completely almost non-verbal, like not speaking. I mean, he wasn't really speaking much the day before. It was like, but we were cordial, like we were getting to know each other. The next day, for no reason at all, he picks up a chair and starts chucking it at a student, right? And like we have to calm the situation down. This sets off the whole class. Like this is crazy. This is something like I'm maybe a 2nd or 3rd year teacher. I've never experienced something like this before in my life. Kids like this, he's like maybe a 3rd or 4th grader, but he's big. Like, he's a big 3rd and 4th grader, and he's strong, and he's throwing chairs, bro. Like, he's chucking fucking chairs around. And, you know, we had to get a handle on the situation, but I call administration, I call school safety, you know, I do everything they say for you to do in the handbook. Nobody ever shows up. Nobody ever shows up. I swear to you. It's maybe like 30, maybe 45 minutes later, I call again, right? And like, now I'm frustrated. Now I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, the assistant principal comes and she's like, oh, you're gonna have to get a handle on the situation because we don't have the resources today to help you. And I'm like, what does that fucking mean, bro? Like, I don't say that to her, obviously. Like, I gotta be professional, but you could see it on my face. And I'm so glad I left that school. But you could see it on my face. And I was like, if this is how you treat me, and I've been at this school for like 3 years, and I got a kid throwing chairs in my classroom, imagine how substitutes are treated. Why would you want to? Imagine you're a sub in my class and you see that happening to me. Would you ever want to come back to that school? I'm going to tell you right now, my answer is no. My answer is hell no. What else does the research say? In addition to student misbehavior and a lack of support from other school employees, a long commute is another reason subs don't take jobs at certain schools. The perceived safety of the neighborhood around the school is another factor. I think this is one of the most important things. A lot of people don't like commuting, period. But it goes back to student misbehavior and lack of support from other school employees. Who cares about a long commute if you're making money? If I'm making money that I hate, and I'm already getting disrespected, and then I'm not getting the help from people that I'm supposed to get the help from, why would I ever want to show back up at your school again? Understanding the substitute teacher shortage. Survey participants said they expect the COVID-19 pandemic to also boost teacher absent rates. At the same time, 56% predicted the pool of people seeking substitute jobs will shrink 5 years from now, and 46% they expect the quality of applicants to fall. Most school officials think raising pay and offering classroom management training would improve substitute teaching in their communities. The median rate of pay reported by survey respondents is $97 a day. However, education budgets might not be able to accommodate those additional expenses. When researchers studied teacher absenteeism in large urban school districts in California, they discovered that teachers were absent on average of 11 days each academic year, and teachers working in public schools with the highest proportion of Black and Hispanic students miss one more day of work on average than teachers at schools with the lowest proportion of Black and Hispanic students. Researchers also learned that public schools with the most Black, Hispanic, or low-income students had the greatest difficulty finding substitute teachers to fill in for absent teachers. The school substitutes preferred least had 2.2 more absences not covered by substitute teachers per year on average with other schools in the district. Okay, before I give my thoughts on that, what are yours? Why do you think these children in these schools get more teachers to be absent and less subs to cover those schools? These schools are usually located in high crime areas, and the students usually do not have the best behaviors. I personally like working in those schools because I can connect with those students more, because that's how I lived. I lived in high crime areas, so I understand and connect with them. I've seen teachers get hit, attacked, and even their credit cards get stolen out of their bags. I almost got jumped by a student's family because the student called his mom and said I disrespected him by telling him to stop skipping class to see his girlfriend in my classroom. So by trying to correct the student breaking the rules, his family wanted to attack me. These are the kind of things teachers have to deal with. Not only teachers, but substitute teachers. Do you think anybody wants to deal with that on a daily basis? One substitute teacher described vulgar, violent language directed at peers, at me, throwing objects around the room and out the window, researchers write. Another said none of them listened to anything I said. They were extremely loud all day. Others described disruptive and disrespectful students who made classroom management highly challenging. I'm gonna give you another story. Oh my God. When I was in high school in New York City, this happened, and this was awful, and this led to a whole classroom getting suspended. There was a substitute teacher subbing, and she was a nice lady, like, for the math teacher. But there was one class that was like off the fucking hook, bro. I'm talking about off the chain. Some of the worst students, like, you know, that class. It was that class. They turned off the lights and they started throwing textbooks around the classroom. Somebody got hit in the eye and had to get stitches. And then the police had to come in and start questioning people because of how much damage was done. 1, in the classroom. 2, to the people in the classroom. And 3, the substitute got fucking hurt. It was wild. It was wild, yo. It was wild. But like I said, I come from those kind of neighborhoods. I come from those kind of schools. That's why I like working in those schools. Not everybody likes working in those schools. Not everybody from those neighborhoods becomes a teacher and wants to, give back in whatever way they want to give back. I don't honestly, sometimes I don't even know how I became a teacher. It kind of just fell. Some careers just fall into your lap. You don't know how it happens. It just, anyways, I can go on another tangent there all day. So what are your thoughts on the substitute teacher shortage? Do you think this article is hitting other points? Do you have other opinions? Do you come from high crime areas or high crime and high need areas? Do you come from high income areas? How are your substitutes? Do you have any stories of substitutes getting disrespected or teachers getting disrespected or people getting fucked up in your school like an adult or an administrator? What are your wild stories? Because I know I can go on all day. But that's it for the end of this video. Those are my thoughts. If you want to become a substitute, feel free. Okay, feel free. Figure out how to do it. We need more substitutes in the class. I don't want this to be a video that's going to stop people from being a substitute. I just wanted this to be a video to understand why the substitute shortage is happening and to give my own opinion from a teacher's perspective. So hopefully you have a wonderful day. See you guys later. Have a great one. Peace.